This episode is brought to you by Americas Rehab Campus. Get on the road to recovery with the best rehab in beautiful Arizona. Dial 1-833-272-7342. That's 1-833-ARC-REHAB.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are now tuned in to the ARCast.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in to the ARCast 2023 Christmas episode. It's your boy Buddha right here, and I am in the studio with my brother Robert. I'm going to introduce him here in just a second officially. But man, you know, we were talking about the Christmas episode, and it was kind of crazy trying to put this episode together, man. It seems like sometimes God just kind of works different things out and makes things happen. And my brother Robert and I got in contact, and there's a lot of similarities to the month of December in his story and a lot of cool things going on. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to give it up. My brother right here, Robert Johnson. My bad, bro. I'm flustered. I'm trying to do like 20 things at once. Hopefully it doesn't sound so fucking cluttered on the microphone or whatever. How are you doing, dude?
Sounds good, man. I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing good, brother. How have you been?
I've been really, really good, man. Really have.
That's awesome. It's good to see you. I think it's been like maybe 2-3 years since
Something
the
like
last time
that.
I saw you.
Yeah, something like that.
You were
Right.
training somebody in the conference room doing like fighting. So you still doing that?
Well, I'm training my son. You know what I
Training
mean?
your son?
Yeah.
How old is he?
He just turned 16 on the 23rd of November.
16. That's what's up, bro. Cool, man. He's fighting? Got some hands or what?
He is. He's doing really well, man. He really is. When he first started, I've always been after him to do it.
Yeah.
And he finally came to me probably about 4 months ago and said, "Okay, I'm ready."
That's cool.
That was just an awesome feeling. You know what I mean? Just like a gift. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. See him doing well and handling his business. Man, it's weird how things work themselves out, man. Like I was telling the listeners, I was a little bit, not stressed, but I'm just trying to figure out like how are things going to happen. And I can't even remember how you and I got in contact, but it just happened to work itself out. And I know you had to switch a couple things around in your schedule, man. But thank you so much for coming and blessing us today.
No problem, man. Yeah, what happened is I hit Erico up.
Erico, shout out to Erico. What up, dog?
Yeah, I seen him on Facebook like about a week or so ago, and I hit him up and got him to call me. You know what I mean? Because I haven't talked to him in a couple of years.
Yeah,
and he's just a cool dude, man. Just a wonderful, wonderful person. You know what
absolutely.
I mean? He is. And when he was here, he was everybody was after him to do some drawings for him because he's a hell of an artist. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And he only did drawings for like a handful of people, and one of the people he did drawings for was not me. It was for my son.
Really?
And that was dope, man. That was really awesome.
That's awesome. He's a huge blessing, man. A really, really good friend of mine. He actually, when my wife and I moved into our house, we bought a house last year. He actually came through from Phoenix and he stayed with us for about a couple weeks or so. And he painted murals on my kids' walls, man. Him and my father-in-law, shout out to David too. They both work together, but man, it's awesome. He did this cool Spider-Man mural, like killing Venom. Like really is cool, bro. He's badass.
Yeah, he asked me, he said, ask your son what are his two favorite heroes. And I think one was from Marvel and one was from DC.
Oh, that's
cool. And he put them together, and it was just like really awesome, man. It really was.
That's cool.
Yeah,
that's cool. Yeah, maybe hopefully if we can get I want to hopefully see a picture of that. We can post it up for the listeners to check it out. Right. Yeah, man. So today the listeners, the crazy thing is today is actually you guys are listening to this on the 19th, but today when we're recording this episode, it's the 5th, but you also told me this was a significant day for you too. What does this day represent?
It is, man. Like you said, everything just comes together just crazy because 2018, December 5th is the day I walked through these doors.
Dang, look at that right there. Woo! So it's been 5 years.
5 years. Yes, sir.
Wow. I mean, it's hard wrapping my head around the fact that I know we've been open for a while, but it's been over 5 years now. That's right. Wow, 2018.
Yeah.
Today.
Came in through the Christmas holidays, I guess, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's hard. I mean, I don't know. I could only imagine it would be even harder coming in during this time of year.
It was because my son was, with me constantly 24/7 and, to walk away from him, to come in and do this. But, I had to look at what was important, the big picture. And the big picture was straightening myself out. You know what I mean? For myself, for him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, for a lot of different reasons, but mainly for myself and of course for my son.
Man, that's important, man. And that's one of the things that we've done when we do the groups, talking to the clients, telling them, like, I know it's extra hard being here right now, but at the same time, if you're home, right, you think you're soaking up all these memories with your loved ones and you're just enjoying it. It's like you're not doing that at all, bro. You're lucky if you remember these moments, let alone making core memories, right? So it's like, dude, come through here and get clean first. Handle that first, so that way you can enjoy the rest of your life with your loved ones.
Well, check this out. So back like 5 years ago, there were some, I guess, reality shows on TV, you know, for lack of a better explanation.
Yeah.
And there was some guys on there that were, you know, they were just doing dope, you know what I mean? Nodding out, you know, just checking out, you know what I mean? You know, anybody that's listening knows what's up if, you know, you've been through the, you know. And my son at the time was, I guess he was 11. Right, 10, 11 years old, and he made a comment to his grandmother that, you know, he happened to see one of those things on TV, and the dude was just nodding out, and he made a comment to his grandmother saying, "That looks like my dad."
Oh, dude,
that was rough, bro. That was really hard, man. That hit hard. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that hit super hard. Because here you think, you know, you're out there doing stuff, man, and you know, you got all your bases covered. You're keeping that life on the down low, you know what I mean? Nobody knows what's up. You know what I mean? For the most part, you think that anyway, you know? Yeah. Especially with kids. You think you're sheltering your kids from stuff, and man, you're not, bro. They see. You know what I mean? They really do. And that hits home. Wow. You know, you got love for your kids, and you know, you want to protect them from that, but, you know, the more you think you're protecting them, when you get really heavily into your addiction, you're not. You're really not.
Man.
And I got to say, I was super blessed coming here, man, because my counselor, you know, Stephanie, wonderful person. Every Tuesday when I had my private counseling session with her, she allowed my son to come in and sit with us. Yeah.
Yeah, she's incredible. Stephanie Burt, right?
Yeah.
Shout out to Stephanie, wherever you're at.
And I didn't try and cover anything up, man. I wanted to expose everything to my son. You know what I mean? Show him, you know, this is what's up. This is what I did wrong. And, you know, that was hard. You know, that was really hard. But, you know, the whole thing is, you know, being honest with, you know, the people that you love and being honest with yourself.
Man, that's deep, bro. And I mean, 11 years old. He was 11 years old, 10, 11 years old at this time. It's amazing how the motivation from your kids can really help and push you forward, man. My wife and I mean, it's mild in comparison. I mean, but I think it's all the same. Like, we all struggle with something, right? But my wife and I, we had vaped. We used to vape a lot. And my son would get so disappointed in us, dude. Like, literally, he would make us feel really bad whenever he would catch us vaping. And I had told him, I was like, dude, we're gonna stop or whatever. And we finally did. My wife and I, we just cut it out. But the other day, winter was coming around, and I finally put my jacket on, that one right there, for the first time since the last year. And when I looked in the pocket, I had 2 of the vapes in there. And typically, you know, I wouldn't say nothing. I just kind of hide them or whatever. But I'm like, okay, the goal is to throw these away. What better opportunity than to show my son, right? So I pulled them out, and I was like, here, dude, look what I found. And he looked at me like, no, like, you guys are vaping again? I told him, I said, no. I said, these are from last year. I said, I'm going to throw them away. He goes, you better. So as we were walking into the church, mind you, right, my son opens the trash can, and I got him, and I went, boom. I threw one in there. I got the other one. I was all, boom. And his little face, bro, he like jumped up with this big old smile. And I just knew, like, that was the right thing to do. Not only to, for one, to let him know, like, I found these, but also to let him see me throwing that stuff away. Because I know, hopefully, if in the future one of his friends or someone tries to get him to do something, he'll remember that moment. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's vital, bro. No, that's great, dude. And I'm glad you're doing so well. You were actually, when you were here, you were Ray's roommate, weren't you?
I was in the beginning over in Detox. Yeah.
Oh, dude,
man, that was crazy, bro.
Man.
That was crazy. He didn't move for probably 36 hours. He just stayed in one spot, man. No bathroom, no meals, no nothing. He just didn't move. You know what I mean?
That's what he told me. He said Robert had him come check him. He thought I was dead or something.
We make that joke. You know what I mean? I had to go get one of the guys and be like, hey, this cat's not moving, like, at all.
God, it's nuts.
Yeah.
Wow. And that was the time, I think the last time that he came, like the time when he really got it was that last time.
Yeah.
Wow, it's crazy, like, how all the pieces come together, man.
It really is, man.
And then the other thing I wanted to talk about before we start even going into your story, we haven't even done that yet. But the thing, I'm just excited that you're here, dude. The other thing was, today that the episode drops, which is the 19th of December, is actually your birthday.
It is.
It's beautiful. So everyone out there, man, send my brother Robert a big happy birthday. I hope the Lord continues to bless you in every opportunity and every goal and things that you got coming up in your life, man, for sure.
All the time, man.
So let's go back, Robert. Let's go back to, back in the day, man. Where are you from? Are you from Tucson?
No, I'm from Baltimore, Maryland.
Baltimore.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Did you have both of your parents growing up?
Nah, I grew up with just my mom.
Just your mom?
Yeah.
Yeah. Any relation or anything with your biological pops?
Nah. I talked to him one time when I was 12 on the phone. You know what I mean? You know how kids answer the phone real quick, right? When it rings, you know what I mean? When you're that age, phone rings, I jump up like a normal kid, answer the phone, and all I hear on the other end of the voice is, let me talk to your mother. I was like, okay. Well, I'm inquisitive. I'm like
That's
12.
it? That's all he said?
I said, who's this? He said, it's Bob. So I hand him phone to my mom, you know what I mean? I'm like, here, some guy named Bob. Her whole face dropped.
Wow.
So, I thought about it. I didn't say anything for probably, I don't know, maybe a year, maybe more. I don't know. I didn't say anything. I'm just like, then one day I was like, hey, that phone call, and it's always bothered me. Who was that? She said, that was your father.
Wow.
I said, didn't he want to talk to me? She said, well, he asked me how old you were, and I told him you were 12, and he said he don't need to talk to me. He's almost a man.
No shit. That was his response?
That was it.
Wow.
That was it. Yeah.
Wow. And I mean, and I'm sure as a father, bro, like you and I both share that. I could never imagine that.
I can't, dude. I didn't give birth to my son, but I couldn't imagine being without him. I couldn't imagine abandoning him for anything. I mean, I did, obviously for addiction, but I was just blessed that I was able to keep him in my life. But that was my mistake. But I couldn't imagine. You know what I mean,
bro? It ain't about where you've been; it's about where you're at and where you're gonna go next, right? So, what was? I'm just curious. What did growing up? What did your mom say was like the reason why your pops wasn't there? Did she ever go into that?
No, he just bounced. Yeah. I mean, I don't know how true the story is, but the story is he went out for cigarettes around Christmas time and never came back. You know what I mean?
Went to go get some milk. How was
I was a year old.
Wow.
Yeah, that was it.
Did you have any siblings growing up?
I got a sister, different fathers, but we're super close.
Absolutely,
you know what
same thing. It's blood, bro.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. So it's just you, your mom, and your sister out in Maryland. And then how long did you guys stay out there?
I'm all my life. You know what I mean? I got married. My first wife, I got married when I was 26 or something like that, and came out here in 1996.
Wow.
A couple years later. You know what I mean? So I've been here for a while.
Okay, so your whole life, your academics, elementary school, middle, high school, marriage, all that was in Maryland.
Yeah.
How were you in school, dude? Were you a good student?
Forget about it, man. No way. That was not important. My mom worked. She was a barmaid. So like when I get home from school, she'd be going to work. I come in at 3:30 or whatever, and she'd be getting ready for work. So 4:30. All I had to do was just like duck under the radar for an hour. You know what I mean? And then she's out, and then I'm good till 2:00 in the morning. So it was, the party was on then,
Yeah. You do your homework? Yeah, sure.
Oh, yeah, you bet. Yeah, no, we didn't have any homework. That was what I mean? Yeah.
Our teacher doesn't do that.
Right.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Okay, so your mom did that. Yeah, I get it, man. My mom did the same thing, bro. Hustler.
Yeah.
Man, it gives you a whole different level of respect.
But she also partied too, though.
Oh, yeah?
She come in 2-3 o'clock in the morning, sometimes not till 5, 6, 7.
Oh, wow.
I'm just getting ready for school. She just coming in with, half a dozen of her friends or whatever.
Wow.
Everybody's all, feeling right. And, so that was just even more, I guess more of a permission or a go ahead, you know what I mean? To have at it, And I did. And she always told me like, when I started to get, turn into my teenage years, it was like, if you want to drink, you can drink at the house. So, that really didn't take the mystique off of it. I wasn't much of a drinker, but that didn't take, I guess that took the mystique off of drinking, but, it didn't stop me from, getting into other stuff.
And then it gives you permission too to do that.
Right.
It's almost I get the concept of why some parents do that shit, but it's also like I prefer the old school, like if I catch your ass doing that, I'm gonna beat the shit out.
Yeah, we're going to the hospital to get my foot out your ass.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
Right. That's right. I get it.
Yeah, man. So okay, so your mom was doing that. Your sister, you guys had a good relationship, just real close with each other.
Yeah, she once I started getting like 15, she got married early, so she was out of the house. So then it was just my mom and I.
Oh wow.
And that wasn't like that wasn't the best. She was going through some hard times. You know what I mean? Her brother just died, or my grandmother got killed in a car accident.
Yeah.
Like that, she was dead instantly. So a tough time for my mom.
Wow.
So I don't hold anything against her. I feel for her. She was going through a lot of shit.
Absolutely.
She really was. And so she kind of like disconnected because she had to, to keep her sanity. I guess I don't know, but
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and back then, I mean, if you think about mental health as a whole, it wasn't like it is now where everyone is like trying to be aware of their depression and their anxiety. And back then it was like, pick up your bootstraps.
Yeah, it was covered up. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. We don't talk about that shit. We just cover it up.
Right.
Man. It's rough. I mean, it's cool that we're learning so much now, but man, you think about the family members that, could have saved themselves or could have helped themselves if they would have just had the resources that we have now. Right. And when you were growing up out there, did you do sports? I know you get into martial arts and fighting and stuff. Was that something you did as a kid too?
I wrestled a little bit in high school, but my grades were jacked, bro. I missed like 100 days my first year in ninth grade. You know what I mean? I didn't care about that stuff. But I had an uncle that did a couple tours of duty in Vietnam, and he came to live with us, about that time, and asked me if I was interested in martial arts, and I was like, well, yeah, you know what I mean? What kid isn't, right?
Yeah.
And so he said, well, while I'm staying here, I'm going to train you, So
that's awesome.
That's where it started, He started training me, and then I went into the military because I went into the military at 17. I signed up at 16 in December, gone in January because all my friends were, going to jail, getting shot. Everybody was like, falling out of the picture, in bad ways. So I went into the military, and of course, because of the way I grew up, I had an issue with discipline. It wasn't for me, bro. You know what I mean? No, it wasn't for me. I did a little bit of military time and, got in some trouble and because I just couldn't do what do this, do that because I say so. I wasn't all about that.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, it's the idea of the discipline and all that it's a good idea, but when you haven't had that type of a structure and all of a sudden some dude you don't know is telling you
at 17, no, there was too much testosterone floating around. You know what I mean? It just wasn't happening.
Did you end up graduating from high school?
No.
So when you came back from the military, had you dabbled at all yet? Like, were you using substances or anything?
Oh,
like
yeah,
that?
yeah.
It was still fun though. It wasn't like
There was no addiction. There was no heavy addiction. When I got out of the military, I went back into Baltimore City, and at that point, my mom had purchased a bar.
Oh wow!
So I was either doing doorman or tending bar, and that was just. Bro, that was like a plethora of drugs. Anything you can imagine, anytime you want it, as much as you want. But still, I didn't I can't say I didn't because the whole cocaine thing, you talk about the 80s. I'm an old man, bro. You know what I mean? So, I did get lost in that for a bit.
It was a very romanticized drug, like extremely romanticized. Yeah. The movies, everything.
Yeah. But when it builds up to the level that we were at, it was insane. It was insane. Because my grandparents passed away, right? Uh-huh. And so my mother got the house, right? Well, she mortgaged that and bought a key of coke, bro.
Dang.
You know what I mean? I think it might have been 2 keys at the time, but so it was, it was crazy, man. It was a crazy time.
Wow. But I mean, your mom must have been doing pretty good to be able to, through all that time, to purchase the bar and to
She held it down, bro. She really did, man. She did. I have to give her amazing props. You know what I mean? 2 kids by yourself.
Yeah.
Dude, I had a stepfather, so I guess she took his check for the most part, but he was a monster.
Oh, really?
I mean, dude, anything you can imagine that, a stepfather can do to kids, yeah, he was a monster, bro.
Man, I'm sorry to hear that.
A monster.
How long was your mom? What ages was she with him?
Well, she was with him for 10 years, and she stayed with him after some really tragic events, shit that he did and pulled, you know what I mean? On us kids and just really nasty stuff, you know what I mean? But she stayed with him. And you got to understand that, okay, so there was a book, and I couldn't tell you anything about it. I can just tell you my sister told me about it. There was a book that was about because my mom grew up in Michigan. You know what I mean? And she was actually abducted when she was 12 years old, took out in the woods and raped and beat for days.
Oh my God.
And she crawled out of the woods. You know what I mean? She was left for dead.
She was young when that happened to her?
Yeah. She was real young. She was left for dead,
Wow.
And she managed to crawl out of the woods and flag somebody down. So she had it rough, bro. You know what I mean? So, all the shit that happened to me in my childhood, I can't say, my mother was just a bad person. She had it rough, man. A lot of respect to that, to the shit that happened to her. And she had, with her family member, the same shit, just really bad stuff, and back then they just swept that shit under the rug.
Yeah.
Nobody said anything about that stuff.
Man, not until I think recently, we're probably one of the few generations coming up, mine and the one before, the ones that really started to be those types of people that are more open about all of this crazy stuff. Yeah. That's, you know what I mean? Yeah. Cause that was especially in I'm sure it's everywhere, but especially in old school Mexican households, bro, people just kept their mouth shut.
Yeah,
and say shit.
It was crazy. No authorities involved. No, that was just insane, man.
Wow.
So like I said,
So that didn't create the best living environment as far as being comfortable at your own house type of shit.
No, not at all. I was always running away, bro. I was always trying to duck out of there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Always. And the messed up part about it was, man, is, I would like hitchhike 60 miles away down to my aunt's house with my cousins because we all grew up like brothers and sisters, and their life was probably worse than mine.
Really?
Yeah. But I was, for some reason, my aunt and uncle like didn't expose me to what they were doing to their kids.
Yeah.
Which was probably 10 times worse than what was happening with me.
How horrible. The generational curses, bro. Like, when you really look back at it, I mean, for one, dog, I mean, and we're going to get into this later, but good for you being the one that's deciding to flip all that shit and make a difference. Because I think that takes bigger balls than anything, bro. I mean, these generational curses, especially with abuse, physical, whatever it may be, that typically, from what I understand, it stems from years and years, from generations before. People just continuing to abuse others because they've been abused. And
right.
I mean, it's crazy.
And that was just the way it was. You know what I mean? If you look at it like, I don't know, 30s, 40s, 50s, you know what I mean? You hear those comments about, if your woman's out of hand, she just needs a good slap. That was the mindset. That was acceptable social behavior.
Yeah.
And that's just, that's really broken.
Wow. Okay. So, after going back to, the whole military thing, when you got back from the military after you had left, were you holding down a job or were you still working with your mom?
I was probably a little bit of both. You know what I mean? It was kind of one of those things where you had it to fall back on. She only had that bar for a couple of years. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And so it was just kind of, fall back on. I mean, I'm like, by that time, I don't know, 20, 22, somewhere around there. And just really didn't have much, desire for a career. I mean, I'm hustling, you know what I mean?
Fun.
I'm selling weed, I'm selling speed behind the bar. I'm just doing all kinds, you know what I mean? Selling coke, just hustling, bro, turning that dollar.
Was this already at the point where, your mom couldn't really control you even if she wasn't really with what you were doing? You just kind of did your thing, or was she did not really care?
Oh, she didn't really care. She had her day-to-day around the bar. And so, whatever was going on, we try and keep it from her and,
She was preoccupied.
Yeah.
Wow. And how long did you continue to do that before you met your first wife?
Probably a couple years. Yeah.
How old were you guys when you met?
I was 20, I think I was 26, but I married her pretty quick.
Okay. All right. And this whole time leading up to the marriage, the using was still recreational, was still fun, just kind of doing your thing.
At that point, like, I was amateur boxing for a little while, so I quit everything. So I did that for a little while. And when you're with somebody that, you're like your wife or, your significant other that you get hooked up with and your whole world, is trying to revolve around them, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And, she comes to me and she's like, I haven't smoked pot in a couple of years. I used to smoke it with my first husband. I wouldn't mind getting high again. That's free pass right there, man. That's an open ticket. You know what I mean? What?
Yeah.
You want to smoke some weed? I got you.
Yeah.
I just go hit up one of my old friends, get a bag of weed, and we'll smoke out.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where it picked back up. You know what I mean? Just doing that, and
Okay, so you had a little bit of an absence getting into the boxing. That kind of took a little bit of your time and your energy. You're focused on that.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. I didn't know that you did boxing for a while too.
Yeah.
All right, and then how long did you stay married?
I was married to her for like 6 years.
6 years.
And we were married for like 2 years or something, and then we sold the house back, in Maryland. Came out here and bought a house, and I opened up a company, carpet cleaning company, and I was making a grip, dude. I was making probably 30 G's a month.
Really?
Yeah.
And you started that on your own?
Yeah.
That's cool.
And when you're making 30 G's a month, you know what I mean, and you kind of, your ego kind of gets a hold of you, you know what I mean? Especially if you've never been in that position before, you know what I mean? I grew up poor, like poor,
wow.
Watching cartoons on Saturday and the electric gets cut off because you can't pay the bill, no phone, heating up freaking, chicken noodle soup in a battery operated coffee maker because that's all you got because you got no electric. So I grew up poor, but you get a taste of that money, man. It's like, wow,
Man.
And it wasn't hard drugs at the time. It was just bad behavior, because you're making all that money. And I don't need one woman, I need 10. And it's just a terrible mindset, And when all that came crashing down, I lost my wife, kind of by choice, unfortunately. And when that hit me, I think that's really when I started like getting heavy into, and not hard stuff yet, I was smoking a grip of weed, I was smoking Dro at $500 an ounce. I was doing, $500 a week. It didn't matter to me because I got 10 grand disposable income every month. I'm good. You know what I mean?
Wow. I couldn't imagine 30 grand a month, man. I couldn't imagine.
That was crazy.
And I'm sure being married and having that, you knew you probably shouldn't be, having more than one woman with you and all that type of stuff like that. But, and the only reason why I'm saying this is because I want the listeners to kind of understand how this goes. It's not until shit hits the fan and, and the relationship is crumbling or whatever it may be, that it wasn't until that moment till you actually felt like, damn.
Yeah. Because I crumbled it, you know what I mean? And, after, I don't know, probably, I want to say a year, but probably less, I realized that I crumbled it, and that really threw me into depression. And then I got into a motorcycle accident up in Phoenix. I had a dude wave another guy through a traffic signal, and he hit me.
Wow.
And it didn't, I was bedridden for a couple months because it just tore me up pretty bad. But I didn't have any cuts and bruises, and I was probably doing I don't know, maybe 50 mile an hour, and I hit the guy. I surfed up the side of the bike into his Jeep. And it just jarred everything, screwed up my hips and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And you got to figure back then, they're giving you scripts on top of scripts on top of scripts for anything. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I was going to a doctor, and he was I'd go in to see him once a week because he would check me out, and I'd still have pain pills at home, and he'd give me more. Here, take some more. So
that movie Dope Sick.
Oh, it was crazy, man. I was getting pills, and at some point they switched to capsules, and I was breaking those up, running them, you know what I mean, down, with a straw, and I would take and fill them up with aspirin and put them back together, or drop, and take those and drop them in the dish, the dishwater, you know what I mean, and give them a call and say, hey, I just dropped my bottle in the sink. Nah, no problem, come get another one.
Wow.
So that's kind of, I gotta say, that's probably where it started.
So you said that this accident took place in Phoenix.
Yeah.
Did you move down here after you and your wife separated?
No, we lived in Tucson. I was just.
Okay. You guys. So with the business, you guys just moved down here. That's how you guys migrated down here.
No, I came from Baltimore to. Well, I moved to Benson for a few months when I got out here in '96, but then I moved up to Tucson. I just, I had clients, carpet cleaning clients. I had a chain of. Well, I did all the blockbusters for the whole state.
Oh wow! Okay, dang, that's awesome. Yeah, that's good work right there.
Yeah, it was really good. And I get a check from them for 20 grand every month.
Wow.
And so I would have to be in Phoenix a lot of times, making sure the crew's up there running right, or filling in for somebody that couldn't make it. So I was trying to juggle everything: Tucson and Phoenix. The whole state. Safford, Prescott, Flagstaff, everywhere. You know what I mean?
I was just trying to make that connection of when you moved down here, because the stories kind of collided at that point.
Yeah.
So all right, so you got into this car accident, and you were single at the time.
No, I was single. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I got it.
So
right.
on top of the depression, you're in pain, and you're dealing with all this road rash and all this crazy stuff. Were you able to jump back on your feet right after that once you got out of the hospital?
Nah, I didn't, man. I didn't worry about it. You know what I mean? Because then, by then I had, still had my company. You know what I mean? Even though my wife and I were split up, we were going through divorce. I let my mom run my office for me. So I still, kind of, I guess working the, my system, you know what I mean? Where, she would run the office. I'd have crews out there doing stuff. So I wouldn't have to do nothing but just sit back and stay checked out.
So the opioids, this is around the time where oxys were starting to they were giving them out like candy.
Yeah.
And that was what really, really started the addiction for you.
It is. I dabble with that stuff, younger and stuff like that. You know what I mean? You get that euphoric feeling off that stuff, and you're like, wow, this is great. But don't let it fool you. It's a snake. You know what I mean?
Well, the way that they marketed it back then was that it wasn't addicting.
Right.
It could get rid of all of the pain. It can get rid of all of that, and you don't have to worry about any repercussions.
Right.
That's crazy. Did you know that you were addicted to them right away?
No. I didn't learn I was addicted until years later, man, when somebody told me, and it offended me. I was running an office. This is after I've been married twice. So I was married to my son's mother, and I was running an office over on the east side for an energy drink company that was just starting up. You know what I mean? And I had a guy that worked in the office with me, and I was, getting into pills. You know what I mean? It was getting harder and harder to find Oxycontins and shit like that. And so he tells me, hey, my wife gets these 30s, and she'll sell them to you for $2 a piece. that was unheard of. I guess it was unheard of. I didn't know. I got so many of them. I was selling to my friends, and I was charging them $5, thinking I'm ripping them off, and here they're ripping me off. But I was buying them, and so I was getting them from her, and I hadn't had any for a day or two. You know what I mean? And I was like, hey, I feel like shit. And can I get some from you? And she was like, yeah, I just got my script filled. She's like, what's going on? What's wrong? I said, well, this is happening. I feel this. I feel that. She was like, you're dope sick. I was like, what do you mean I'm dope sick?
Wow.
No clue. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've seen it before, growing up, I had people nodding out and, I'm not a stranger to it. But I just wasn't connecting it to me. She told me I was dope sick and I was like, oh man, that was a lot of denial, but she was right.
Wow.
And of course, okay. So that was a fleeting realization, of being dope sick, but it didn't stop me. You know what I mean? I just kept, and then it just started getting worse and worse and, out of hand. You know what I mean?
Man, so for years you were taking those pills, but because of your position and because of the finances that you had, you were able to constantly keep a steady stream of just narcotics around. Yeah. You never felt the withdrawal.
Nah, I didn't worry about it. You know what I mean? It wasn't anything that, because like I said, doctors DEA wasn't sweating those guys then. They were handing them to you like nothing. You know what I mean?
It's crazy to me.
I mean, I have, several different, I guess, places in my life that I was when, so after all that, I'm doing, I'm doing pills pretty heavy and doing all kinds of crazy shit, man. I mean, I don't want to incriminate myself, but, let's say I was bringing things into the country that weren't right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was getting paid good money for that. Man. And, it was nothing to go out and, spend a couple G's on, blues, you know what I mean? So I just kept going, you know what I mean? And
on top of your business, you were doing this type of stuff too.
No, that was I'd sold the company.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I sold the company, but so then I guess cut back, because everybody's got the same, for lack of a better explanation, they're running and gun and bullshit. Everybody's got that, Who cares whose story is worse? Or, what I mean? It's all bad, it really is. But I got a hold of some blues with the fentanyl in them.
Oh man!
And it killed me. Literally killed me, bro. I was out in Picture Rocks and I pulled up to a Minute Market. I just, pulled off the side of the road after I came from the dude's house and, ripped up a couple, you know what I mean? And pulled into the Minute Market out there. Figured I'd get a drink before I come back to Tucson. And I woke up in an ambulance with a paramedic going, okay, we have a pulse. I had no clue, man. By the grace of God, I swear, man. I had one foot out of the car. I was done. I was, not breathing. And one of the girls that worked at the Minute Market just happened to go on break and see me sitting there. The only thing I can figure is because the paramedics are like, I don't know if you know anything about Picture Rocks, but the fire department is like, a couple 100 feet from the Minute Market. You know what I mean? And I can only surmise that that's probably what saved me is their, ability to respond so quickly because they were so close.
Man.
But I still didn't learn.
Yeah, no, that's common.
I still didn't learn. I woke up, like I said, I woke up in the ambulance with her saying, and dude, I was feeling bad, because they hit me twice with a Narcan. Now I'm feeling like I'm going to die. You know what I mean? I even asked them, am I going to die? You know what I mean? They're like, no, you're okay now. So they take me over to Northwest Hospital and I'm there for half an hour and, Narcan wipes that stuff out. So you're,
Doesn't it make your adrenaline go through the roof and shit too?
I couldn't tell you about adrenaline. I just know that in the back of that ambulance, I felt like I was going to die. You know what I mean? Like coming around, and I get to the hospital and I'm feeling better, but now I got nothing in my system. And so I asked the doctor, I said, hey, I don't have to be here, right? He said, no, you don't have to be here. I'd like to see you stay here for a few more hours, make sure you're okay. I was like, I'm good. I was here for half an hour. You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm good. I know I got pills in my car. You know what I mean? He's like, look, you need to stay here for a few hours. He said, that's the same stuff that killed Prince, right? That was his response to me wanting to leave. You know what I mean? I was like, yeah. So, I checked 10 minutes. I'm out.
Stubborn, bro.
Yeah, I'm out. I'm going back to Picture Rocks to pick up my car because I still had shit hidden in there. Even though it was the stuff that killed me, I'm still ready to just keep doing it. You know what I mean? And I did.
So it's not like you took the couple out of the pack and had the shit sitting near you or whatever. So you still had, you pretty much had it hidden.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I was going to say if that typically, I think that shit would all be pretty much gone, right? If they saw that laying around or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
Man. And it was fentanyl. So, and what year is this again?
Oh God. My son was born. So it was probably about, I'm going to guess maybe 12, 13 years ago.
So, yes. I mean, I think that was not only were you a part of the huge opioid epidemic of when the oxys and stuff started to come out, but then you were also a part of it when that shift happened, and now everything is filled with this fake opioid stuff. Yeah. Now, had you heard about it before? Like before?
Yeah, I've heard about it. I heard about it for sure. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, seen a couple people fall out, die, Dude, I've lost 2 family members so far from fentanyl just in the last 2 years.
I'm sorry to hear that. But before you had used, though, like was it a fairly common thing around the streets still? Like, was it fairly new?
It was fairly new. It was fairly new. They were starting to put it in, it wasn't coming out. I mean, it was, but, for the people that I was running around with, it was, they were starting to put it in the H. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So, and then, the pills, I really didn't, because I knew some people that were getting scripts, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I really didn't worry about it too much. But then the dude that I was getting it from out there, they were supposed to be scripts too, but they weren't. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's crazy.
And that caught me, But like I said, I didn't learn my lesson yet. I've been, this was when I walked in these doors on the 5th of December in 2018. It was my 4th detox, my fourth attempt.
Detox.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Man, and you were married for the second time when that happened to you, right?
I was going through a divorce. I started my divorce in 2012. And it took, quite a few years because we were fighting for my son. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And
was that with your first wife or your
second?
Your second wife.
Yeah. Still, like I said, still fighting for him, and that was an ugly situation too. But I knew at the time that I was the better of the, if you can believe, the more stable of the two. You know what I mean? That's crazy.
Man. So that was 2012, 2014, somewhere around there. And you didn't get clean until 2018. Yeah. So take us through that next 4 years. What was your life up until that point?
It was crazy, bro. Just doing whatever I wanted. You know what I mean? Just like, I don't know. It was just kind of hard to explain. It just, everything just kind of hazed out. You know what I mean? I was doing whatever I wanted. And what was really weird is I was like once a year, almost to the day, I was getting like into automobile accidents, getting hit by cars that wasn't my fault.
Really?
So I'm getting these settlements, not a lot of money, but, enough to keep the hustle on. And none of them were my fault. None of them. I'm getting sideswiped. I'm getting rear-ended. It was just really weird, like almost to the day or the week every year for like 5 years straight. And I was putting change in my pocket. So
that's interesting.
Yeah. So I'm doing the hustles and I'm getting change in my pocket from accidents.
And why, just curious, going back a little bit, why did you guys decide to sell, or why did you decide to sell your company?
I had a lot of things going on, a lot of things weighing on me as far as like, my son being born, you know what I mean? Trying to stay married and I'd already went through a divorce once, and that really just, that wiped me out, like, and I don't mean financially, I mean emotionally, you know what I mean? Like, just mentally just wiped me out, because that was the wrong thing to do. That was a very, that's still a tough thing to get over.
Yeah, absolutely.
And turn around, I'm fighting this depression, a year and a half later, I'm fighting this, this big mistake that I made. And I meet this chick at a party, at my next door neighbor's house. I was over there every day partying. And within like no time at all, I took her out to Vegas and married her. And I didn't want to get divorced again. I just didn't, I didn't want to. So whatever I had to do to try and, stay married, I was willing to do. And then my son came along, and then it was even more so.
Yeah. Wow.
Considering the fact that I grew up in a, with a absentee father, there was no way in hell I was doing that.
And I think the hunger for wanting to play that vital role, especially, for whether it's a son or daughter, it doesn't really matter. But I think especially when you have a boy, because it just, you see that little version of yourself and that little boy every day.
Growing up with the wonders and that, I would have been, not that I'm a bad person in my experiences in life. I'm fortunate, and I love my life, but I probably would have been, if I'd have had a father pushing me, and guiding me, I would have been a professional athlete without a doubt.
It's crazy to hear you say that, because I just see so many people, especially working in this field, man, had they been nurtured the right way with the right type of foundation, man. So many things could have happened. But at the same time, too, I also feel, and maybe you see this now that, you're older, and everything that happens doesn't happen in vain, because it kind of
it doesn't, man.
It has to, it gets you where you're at right now. Shit, 5-year anniversary today, bro.
That's it.
It's a huge thing.
It is. It's a great feeling. And, all the things that I went through in my life, I wouldn't give anything. I wouldn't trade any of it, because I have a son, and that's just, man, that I'd walk through, my life a million times over.
Man, I bet. And I bet you too. I mean, it allows you to appreciate having your son in your life more than ever.
It does.
You know what I mean?
It really does.
But had I told you that when you were in the midst of your addiction, you would have told me to get the hell out of here.
Right. Yeah.
You know? It's crazy how that works, man. So that whole time you were just kind of doing your thing, you know, from that little fragment up until 2018 when you walked into those doors.
Yeah.
What was the thing that happened, or what was there a thing that happened when you decided, like, dude, I need to change my life?
Well, you know, I've been just like everybody else. You know what I mean? You hit them low points in that life, and you want to get out.
Yeah.
You know, so I've had those. You know, like I said, that was my fourth detox, and like a couple of days prior to that, you know, like remember I told you about the accidents. You know what I mean? I was getting change. Well, I got some change, and I bought a motorcycle. You know what I mean? Nothing fancy. It cost me like $1,500. You know what I mean? But it was it was a cruiser type bike, and so that's what I was running around on. You know, cheap insurance, cheap gas. You know what I mean? I'm good. You know, I would do deliveries on that thing. You know what I mean? Just to make some money. You know?
Heck yeah.
So, like, my son's grandmother, you know, we always stayed in contact. They always loved me to death. They're great people. You know, the retired teachers are just wonderful people. You know, my wife's parents, my ex-wife's parents. She calls me because they would lease a new car every year. You know, like every other year, every 2 years, they would lease a new Honda from dealership. So she calls me. She's like, hey, I'm over here on the 22nd. You know, I'm getting a car. And I was like, oh, nice. Okay. So I figured I'd stop by and say hi because I was on my way to the man's house. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I stopped by, and, you know, when you're in that world, you know, you don't have phone service. You have Wi-Fi wherever you can get it.
Every McDonald's.
Yeah, right. So I stopped by, and I'm like, oh, I don't have to worry about Wi-Fi. Can I borrow your phone? I want to call and make sure my man's home so I can go, you know, hit him up.
Mm-hmm.
Her phone records the whole conversation. I don't know how it happened. She doesn't, you know, I mean, I don't think, I mean,
that sounds on purpose.
It does, but she keeps telling me to this day it wasn't. It just happened to do it. And it just picked it up.
That's so weird. As a techie person, to me, that makes no sense.
Yeah, okay. You know what? I can't disagree with you. I don't know, but that's just funny how that happened. You know what I mean? And so, like, you know, I think that was a Saturday, you know, and cut to Monday morning, you know, I'm over there at their house taking my son to school. Because I always played a heavy role in his life, whether he was with me or not, you know what I mean? Like living with me, actually, you know what I mean? And at that point, he was still kind of living with me, but he was still, you know, hanging out over there too. So I'm taking him to school on Monday, and I forget my backpack. When you're in that life, the backpack is your life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, so I forget my backpack. So I drop him off at school, and I come back to get the backpack, and I'm shot out. You know what I mean? I'm getting ready to go down and get right. And I walk in the door to get my backpack, and she's like, okay, you need to sit on the sofa. We need to talk. And that was it, man. You know, she said, you know, what are you doing? You know what I mean? I'm like, well, I'm trying to give her all these excuses. You know what I mean? As you do in that life. You know what I mean? I'm trying to give her all these BS excuses. You know what I mean? She pops out the phone, his play, and it's just wide open. At that point, I'm just busted. And she tells me, she says, you know, this is it. You know, you got to go to rehab today. You have to do it today. And, you know, like I said, in my heart of hearts, I really wanted to get clean. Just afraid of being, you know, the detox. And, you know, it's a crazy life. You know what I mean? And so, like, I called a friend of mine because I remember him talking about it. Bobby Harshman, I gotta give a shout out to him.
Shout out, Bobby.
He really helped me out. You know what I mean? And I called him that morning, and I said, hey, bro, I really need to fix this, you know? And he told me about this wonderful place called the Arc.
Wow.
You know what I mean, this wonderful, wonderful place called the Arc.
Did he come through here too?
He did.
Wow.
He did. He had a few struggles here and there, but I think he's doing really well now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, you know, within, I don't know, maybe an hour or two, my son's grandmother, Linda, she brought me down here, and she held me up the whole time, bro. I mean, she was there for me. You know, I wrecked everything in my real family with my mother and my sister. I wrecked all that, you know what I mean, with my addiction, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Stealing, lying, cheating, all that stuff that goes along with it, you know what I mean? All the bad stuff, hustling. And so I wrecked that relationship with my family. And that's a tough thing to do from a dysfunctional family. It's tough to wreck a dysfunctional, you know what I mean?
It's tough to top the dysfunction.
Yeah, right? So, you know, you know, I was like 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning, and she brought me in, and we made a few phone calls, and you know,
Wow, man.
Receptionist or whatever said, come on in. And I came in and I think within 2 hours I was back in detox and everybody was like, so understanding and so super cool. It couldn't have been better. Because I went to a couple places here in town and, it didn't seem like the level of, I can't say it wasn't there, but, maybe it was just bad timing for me. Maybe it just wasn't meant to be. I don't know. But when I got here, everybody was like so nice, man. They're like, we know you're sick. We understand. We get it. We can see it. You know what I mean? So we're going to ask you as few questions as possible. We're going to get you into a bed as fast as we can so we can cut, we're going to like speed up this red tape for you because we know you're sick.
Man.
And we're here to take care of you. And that was just such a blessing, bro. It really was.
Thinking about the story, it's funny going back, to the beginning when we were talking about how when we're in the middle of our addiction, we think we're so good at hiding shit.
Oh, yeah.
And I know you said that you had kind of messed up the relationship between your mom and your sister and things like that. But correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like up until that point where you were confronted before you came in here, that was probably like one of the first times that someone had ever like sat you down and told you about the shit that you needed to change, right? When that phone call was recorded?
Nah, it's not the first time. It's just the first time that it hit home because of my son.
You know what I mean? Oh, okay. That's right.
Because I know that had I not done that, I know they probably would have taken the steps to try and take my son from me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that was when it got real.
And see, and I think about, like you said, you were shot out. This was right towards the finish line of your addiction when you were there. It could have been doing that for your own good. Like, what is this?
It was, man. I carried my detox picture for, probably a good 2 years after I got out of here. You know what I mean?
Man.
Maybe even longer. And I probably still have it on my other phone. I could probably call Linda right now and ask her to send me a copy of it. She's on her phone. She would. It was rough. Really, really rough.
Whew. Yeah, that's rough. If you're down, we could even share that too. If you want to share it with the listeners, we could put that picture up on there.
And I don't have any issue with that, man, for sure. Break that out,
because we're gonna have another picture of us in the studio, so they'll be able to see.
All right, yeah.
So, man, all right. So you came through, and at this time, and it's such a beautiful thing. Like we talked about earlier, the motivation when kids are involved, knowing that if you don't change your life, the disappointment, you would be redoing a generational curse for your son. Like that motivation kept you pushing and kept you on the right track. You got a chance to meet Ray. So you guys went through the detox. You guys went through the residential program together.
Well, the funny part about all this, man, is like, again, we go back to, things happening for a reason. And, you got to figure, I grew up in Baltimore City. I grew up with, with people, I don't want to glorify it and say hardcore or real people, but, people that, when it was time to get some dirty things done, they got it done. And, what kept me here was people, like Ray, people that were, that really, real people, people that went through, the same shit that I recognize, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if they're in here and if they can, if they can do it, then, because in my mind, when I was growing up, that was, you're out there doing all that, stuff. That was, that was that was what I wanted to emulate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's not good. That's not good at all.
Yeah.
But you see those kind of people that, cut to 2018, you see those people that are the same people you recognize and relate with that are here, like fixing their lives. And you're like, well, this must be the real thing to do.
Man.
This must be the stand-up thing to do.
That's amazing how things work themselves out. Like out of anybody that could have been in a room with you, it was Ray. And like, for me, it's not a coincidence that you're sitting here in the studio with me right now. It's not a coincidence that just thinking about everything, the situation. Dude, homeboy and you yourself, man, you guys are powerhouses. Like just the energy that you guys put out there, and to see how you guys both at one point in time had a life that was completely opposite of what it is now, and that you were able to pull yourselves out of the fire and to be where you're at now. I think it's an absolutely beautiful thing, and I think it's one of the strongest, toughest battles that any person ever has to face.
It is. I know when I was here going through, I guess, my first church meeting with John. You know what I mean?
Yeah, brother. I got to try and sound like John. What up, John Bacon? How you doing, brother?
Yeah, he was inspirational, man. Like he was talking about the percentage of people that actually make it, and I was like, that can't be right. That don't sound right at all. Mm-hmm. And by sitting back and observing, it's 100% right. But I would go into the meetings and that we had here, and listen to people talk about they got 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years clean. You know what I mean? I'm like, here I am, like, what, a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and I'm like, that's just another planet, and that doesn't even exist. That'll never happen for me. You know what I mean? That's so many light years away from where my head is right now. I just can't imagine it. You know, and now here I am sitting back 5 years later, and it's like, damn, that's, you know, I mean, the struggle hasn't ended, you know what I mean? And not to say that I have triggers or that, you know what I mean, I have anything that's going to cause me, because that was another lifetime, and I put that lifetime away.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have a sponsor. I didn't go get sponsors, you know what I mean? And that scared the crap out of me. I came to you one time, bro, when I was first here, and I said, you know, I asked you a question. I don't know if you remember this or not, but I asked you a question about, are you able to be successful if you keep fear close to your heart? And you said, yeah, but you weren't sure as far as, you know, how long, you know, you could do that for. Do you remember that at all?
No, I don't. I don't.
And that scared me even more because, you know, here I am thinking I'm going to keep the fear of not doing all that stuff, you know, close to my heart, you know what I mean? And use that as a, you know, kind of a conduit to stay on the right side. And then they got people telling me, you know, well, you're never going to make it if you don't get a sponsor and you don't work the steps, and you know what I mean? So I went to Kevin, and, you know, I had a talk with him, you know what I mean? And he told me, he said, you know, if not getting a sponsor, not having a sponsor, or not working the steps, if that doesn't work for you, that's okay. There's a, you know, you work your own program, whatever program it is that's working for you, that's your program.
Yeah, no, I think that's one of the things that we talk about a lot too. Shout out to Matt. We got to get you back on it. Matt is back, ladies and gentlemen, here, so we need to get him on some new episodes here. Shout out to my brother Matt, but he talks a lot about how recovery, you know, I mean, it's just like there's a structure when you first come into this world where it's like, you know, you need to have a sponsor, you need to hold your ass accountable and to be not blame others for your mistakes and all those shifts, but eventually recovery turns into a fitted suit. And everybody has their own way of recovery. You know, you have people that are so fragile that they cannot skip a day of going to meetings or else.
Oh yeah, no,
you know?
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I won't say that. You know, meetings didn't inspire the hell out of me. Really helped me, encouraged me in the very beginning. I went to meetings a couple times a week. It was beautiful. Yeah, beautiful. Just, you know, probably wouldn't be able to do it without those meetings, because then again, you're still seeing the same people. Absolutely. You know what I mean, that are a little bit ahead of you in the, you know, in their life, that, you know, went through the same things, and you know, that's an inspiration. That really is. If you really open up your heart and listen to it, you know what I mean? It's there. You know, it really is. But as far as like the whole sponsor thing, that I just couldn't do it.
Yeah, absolutely. A fitted suit. That's what fits you, and you're doing very well at it. Man, so 5 years, brother. How have things changed in your life?
Well, things have changed a lot, man. Like, I guess about 2 years or so ago, maybe a little bit longer, I made up with my family. You know,
good for you.
I went and apologized, and you know, but the relationship that I have with everybody in my family is wonderful. It couldn't be any better. You know what I mean?
Wow.
I don't think I've ever gotten along with my mom as well as I do now.
Man,
ever in my life, I think, really. You know? You know, and with my sister, you know, and her kids, you know, her kids kind of grew up because they're all in their, like, you know, I think late 20s to late 30s. So, you know, they seen me when, you know, I had a karate school.
That's cool, man.
You know what I mean? Because I had 2 karate schools, you know, and you know, so they seen me when I was that big, different person, I guess, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so they see me from that to falling down, you know, all the way down below God's graces, or whatever, however you want to put it. But, you know, so they lost a lot of respect for me, you know what I mean? A lot of respect. And you know, it's understandable, because I lost a lot of respect for myself. You know?
That's a big thing.
Yeah. And, you know, I've managed to put that back together. You know, I said my apologies, you know what I mean? And you know, I wouldn't say make amends, but, you know, I mean, I said my apologies, and, you know, I'm there for every one of my family members now for whatever they need. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And, you know, I guess that's part of my amends, you know what I mean? Is being there and not letting them down, and, you know what I mean, doing things that I can do for them.
I'm excited to hear this part of it. How has the relationship with you and your boy changed?
I thought we were close in that before I came here, you know, in 2018. I thought we were close, and I guess we were, because he was still young. You know what I mean? Now he's 16 years old. His eyes are a lot more open to what's going on around him and how the world works. And you know, we're probably closer now than we've ever been. You know what I mean? He's made a few comments to me that are just like, you know, just like heartwarming. Like, you know, anything my son needs, he's got. He calls me up and tells me he needs something, I got you. Here's my credit card number. And don't matter. You know what I mean? And people say you spoil him. Well, you know what? That's all right.
Yeah, it's your boy, man.
I do. But I can tell you right now that he's he's a very intelligent, very respectable, very responsible son.
Good.
I mean, he says please and thank you. He doesn't have like an attitude. You know what I mean? He just really doesn't, And he calls me, all the time. Hey, Dad, can I order something from Grubhub? Can I do this? Can I get money for a game? And I always try to make sure he's got cash in his wallet. And we were out somewhere, and I was buying him some stuff that he needed. And he was like, thank you. And I was like, what are you thanking me for? I'm doing my job. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. I'm holding you down. That's what I'm here for. I'm your father.
Yeah.
I appreciate the thank you, but I'm just doing my job. And, he tells me, he says, well, you're just a great father. You're just a wonderful father. You know what I mean?
Good, man.
He's told me that a couple different ways, a couple different times in the last few months. And it's really, it's just so awesome, man. You know what I mean? And so the other day we're talking, and this is like, I've been training him for a couple months. And he tells me out of the blue, because I was thinking about my sister bought a house in Tennessee. I think I told you that. And, I go down there and fix the house. And there's a commercial building that I could buy down there right now if I wanted to open up a karate school. You know what I mean? So I was trying to entertain my son with that idea. You know what I mean? It's just a possibility, Mm-hmm. And he's not too keen on moving to Tennessee. But then he tells me like 2 weeks ago, he says, hey, Dad, I think when I get out of school, I might want to move to Oregon. I was like, why Oregon? He's like, well, it rains a lot there. And I was like, well, it rains a lot in Tennessee too. You know what I mean? And he's like, yeah, but I was thinking about Oregon. I was like, okay, well, if that's what you want to do, I'll go with you. You know what I mean? I mean, whatever it takes. I don't care if I had a career here or not. I would drop it and go with my son. And he was like, well, you got to go with me, Dad. I can't go anywhere without my father. You know what I mean?
Wow,
that was cool. Yeah, that was awesome, man. It really made me feel good. You know what I mean?
Good, dude. And what's your son's name? Robbie, shout out to you, brother. I hope you and your family having a good Christmas, man. That's awesome. Your dad has nothing but big smiles on his face and everything, man. And it's a blessing to have him here. You have an amazing father. So, but wow, that's incredible, man. And you're working right now. What are you doing?
Yeah, I work for a company out of Phoenix. Put sliding shelves in kitchens and bathrooms and stuff like that. But I've been doing it for a couple of years and absolutely love it. I have my own customers as far as handyman work and stuff. And
all right,
absolutely love it.
Hey, bro, you got a card, dog. We can put that on there too. Hopefully, get you some more business. Start building up that contact book.
Right. Well, Karen keeps telling me, that's my girl. She keeps telling me I got to get cards, and I haven't had a chance to do that yet. Well, I've had plenty of chances, and I just keep putting it off for some reason. I don't know why, but
hey, you let me know, man. Even if it's just a phone number, though, we can throw that up there. I really appreciate you coming through, dude, and sharing your testimony with us, man. Is there anything else, before we finish up this episode? Is there any advice or anything you'd want to give to some of the listeners? Maybe a person that's in a very similar situation. Maybe they've lost the connection with one of their kids, or maybe they've gone through a divorce, or they're experiencing the addiction. Like, is there any type of advice you can give them to keep them pushing forward?
I think the only thing I can give them is I know that going into a rehab, your first initial detox and stuff like that is not an easy thing, man. It's the scariest thing that you're facing, at that point, and you do it and you'll get through it. You might not think you will, but you'll get through it. Places like this are just, they're miracles. You will get through it. And once you get through it, you can start putting your life back together, and that's priceless.
Awesome. Wow. Robert, brother, thank you so much for coming in. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up to our brother, Robert. Woo! Such a beautiful and powerful testimony, man. And thank you guys so much to the listeners. Please, if you guys have a friend or a loved one, somebody who's in recovery or somebody who needs help, please send them this episode. And for everyone else who's out there, I hope you guys have an amazing Christmas with you and your families, wherever you guys are. And thank you so much for tuning in. We will definitely see you guys on the next one. Much love and God bless. Peace. What's going on, everybody? This is Buddha from the ARCast, and I just wanted to thank you for checking out this week's episode. It means a lot, and if you could share it with a friend or a loved one, somebody you need in recovery, or maybe somebody who just needs that little bit of extra positivity in their life, we'd greatly appreciate it. If you would like to join us here on the ARCast, either in the studio live or online, hit us up. The links are down in the show notes of this episode, and on there, you can find direct links to our main website here at Americas Rehab Campus and all of our social media platforms. Follow us. We keep the post positive and motivational, focused on recovery, health, and wellness. As you know, in this modern day and age, we need as much love as possible, y'all. And as always, if you or somebody you know is in need of substance abuse treatment, please don't hesitate to give us a call. We're open 24 hours a day, and our direct phone number is 1-833-272-7342. Once again, that phone number is 1-833-272-7342. I hope you all have a beautiful rest of your day. Much love and God bless. Peace.